You're about to see a video from while we were still in Flagstaff. Miss Poppy Seed had been showing me some signs that she wasn't feeling the best body movement wise. So I had Kathy come over, work her magic. I was able to video it, and you guys are going to get to see what a body working session from Kathy looks like on my mare Poppy that was a little bit out of place and needed some work done.
So if you don't mind, we'll have you, I'm going to stand over here.
Okay.
We'll have you walk her just out that way, maybe to the black truck and back. Thank you.
So you're just looking for...
What we're looking for is how does she place feet? How does she track? What's her pelvis doing in relation to everything? You know, as they're walking away, how do things look? Okay. I just kind of look for symmetry. And then when they're coming back at you, you can see, you know, how close together their front legs are. She's being, she's being a little bit looky-loo, so it's hard, but I like to see how they place their feet, if they interfere at all, you know, and then when they stop, you can kind of look at their feet, their hooves, how they weight everything, you know, that's all going to matter on what's happening in their body.
Okay.
So,
okay.
And it was difficult because she is young and she was really looky-loo, so we'll just have to feel things on her more so than anything else. Okay. But she does seem to be a little bit narrow for her. You know, if you look at this leg in particular, how it comes out of the chest, it goes in. You see that? So she's a little bit, her weight is a little bit off center in this one because it is off underneath her. And the left one, it does it kind of as well. So we'll see if we can get her more centered directly underneath her chest. And then I just like to kind of, you know, go over them, see if I can feel any muscle tension and validate what I'm seeing when I actually watch them move. Okay. All right, baby. She's not real happy about putting her pelvis forward.
Do you like when an owner will tell you what they think, or do you like to see this from the unbiased?
On both, because you know, I like to validate what the owner or the trainer or the rider is feeling, so that I can validate with what I'm finding in here and see if we can figure out, you know, why is this horse moving like they are. Okay. So is she under saddle right now?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I haven't rode her this last week. She feels something in her hips feel really unsymmetrical to me.
Well, let's find out where we're talking. She's very tight on inside here. And for her, you know, she's a big girl, but I feel like she's very base narrow. Not even cowhock, she's narrow. Okay. This space is really, and you can almost see that she wants to weight this leg, how she's standing right now, and it's winging out. Okay. I don't necessarily see that when she walks away, but she's also not real happy about flexing her pelvis. Okay. So we're going to put motion back in this pelvis and try to get this tail set up just a little bit more. Okay. And I'm not real happy with it right there. I kind of want it a little bit more there. Okay. So I'm going to start back here because these hamstrings groups are just really tight.
Are these like ridges? Is that normal?
No, not necessarily, but you can feel the tension. See how drawn up she is in here, and there is so much tension right here. Okay. So we're going to open up this hind end first. Okay. So I'm just going to go through and get her ready. kind of a classic example of the analogy I use for human terms. She's got way too tight of pants on back here, right? She's got super tight jeans, and all women understand that.
Yeah.
But she's going to be very, very short in how she moves, and what's really going to affect her is how the range of motion on her whole leg.
Okay.
So I don't even think she could get her hind feet into the front feet footfalls when she walks.
Okay.
I'm sure she's pretty short that way.
And she has a hard time keeping her left lead. But when she falls out of it, it's like in the back end. It's like what you said. Those front feet, or their back feet, they like drag, and then she kind of falls out of it.
Okay. It's a little bit tough for me, especially on these babies, to really kind of communicate what I'm feeling, because it is a feel when you're doing body work. So, you know, I know what I need to do, but as you go through, you find so much more that you need to address.
Okay.
So I'm not necessarily...
Because you've been doing this for years, too, so it's not something you can just teach someone.
Well, you have to get...
Through a video or...
You have to get the feel for it. You have to know what, you know, the tension feels like. You need to feel the releases. You know, some tension isn't terrible. It just depends. But if it's rock hard, there's usually a problem. And every horse is different. They are unique in that they are unicorns, I feel. And anything could happen with them. That's why it's so fascinating.
Yeah.
You never know what you're going to find.
Yeah.
But I do know how I need to help them as much as I can today. Oops. So I'm having a hard time getting this pelvis to go forward.
Okay.
So, you know, you have to go back and look at all the components to it. And right now, you know, our foot's really far forward, so it's really making this tight. But I also feel like we need to do a lot more work back here until this can release. So, coming right back.
I see sometimes you more like kind of pat or jiggle something. Is that you testing how loose it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, like I said, it's all about how the tissue and muscle feels. And that's something that you have to develop as a body worker. You know, they need to be symmetrical as possible.
Okay.
And every muscle has an opposing muscle. So if one's super tight, then that means, you know, the other one's working too hard.
Okay.
One of them's working too hard. Either the one muscle or the opposing muscle. So getting the balance between the two is really the key. But this is so tight. But you see the difference now. She's standing on this one. There's actually give to the tissue now on this one. And she's actually weighting this one. So this is a good thing.
Okay.
But now we have to do it to this side.
Okay. And the opposing muscles, are they not always on like the opposite side? Could it be like forward and back?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And, you know, it could be dorsal ventral, it could be cranial sacral, it doesn't matter. I mean, every muscle has an opposing muscle.
Okay.
But that's what makes horses so incredibly athletic too.
Okay.
They are, as a quadruped, they can do some pretty amazing things athletically.
Why did you want to get into equine body work?
Well, gosh, it started way back in the day with my own horse who was lame, and in spite of my best efforts, I couldn't figure out why, and neither could a vet. And so I just started really diving in deep on what it could be, and I found out through the grapevine that it was actually a bad shoeing.
Oh.
Which started the whole ball rolling. you know, and how important it is. And the shoe was just pinching his heels, so he
Okay.
was, and I still have that horse. He's my 28-year-old.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he started the whole ball rolling for me, and
Okay.
why I was so fascinated in how everything kind of all ties together. So he started my quest, got me in touch with a lot of different really, really talented people, a good farrier, a good dentist, you know, that introduced me to the body worker who I ended up taking all my training from.
Okay.
And, you know, still use that same dentist until last year.
Okay.
It's a lot of years.
That's cool.
Yeah. If I'm remembering right, you said she does not hold a left lead well, right?
Yes.
And is it really even hard to get her to take the left lead?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the components is here in this rib cage, because this doesn't even budge.
Okay.
And you know, if you want to feel these adhesions, so this is a really good example. If you feel right down here, you can feel how your fingers, you know, you can feel each rib, and there's give to the tissue. So go up to this one. You feel what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do actually.
Okay, and so go up to, let's see, that's the one. Even right there is not even pretty. But go up to this one and try to run down. I mean, you can barely even feel where the ribs are. So those are adhesions in the fascia
Okay.
in the intercostal muscles.
It feels hard too
Yeah,
to me,
exactly.
like there's like metal under
So really restrictive and so effectively, you know, with these restrictions here, it has no place to go. So it goes forward, or back, or whatever. But now, you know, essentially this much of her, and I haven't even felt down here yet, but so far this much of her rib cage doesn't flex at all, because it's not going to move around these adhesions.
Okay. And would it make sense why, like, when she does finally pick it up, she does not want to tip her nose to the inside at all?
Well, it's kind of like she's a board on this side. Nothing flexes. And, you know, they need to bend this way. It's not necessarily all here. But the rib cage and the barrel needs to be able to roll like that.
I see.
And she can't do either. And it would, as bad as this would affect her inspirations and breathing as well.
Okay.
Yeah, she doesn't even like
That's
me working on
uncomfortable.
this. This side is definitely worse than the other side, where it's involved even that deep fascial sheet, because I can't even really pull her skin away. See how tight that is, and it won't even tint.
Okay.
All right, sister.
And
This
now
is
that you
a
said that
problem.
about her breathing, I always thought that was her being nervous and holding her breath, but
She can't expand her diaphragm. And the diaphragm on a horse is huge, right? And it'll affect all the way up here like this. And if she can't expand and open her rib cage, then, you know, the pressure changes and they end up breathing really shallow. And then they get fatigued really easily because they're not breathing efficiently.
okay.
Also, like, affect how fast her heart's beating?
Yes. Think about breathing through a straw. And, you know, and then you're trying to lope her. You're not going to see it, you know, like in the first 2 minutes. But the more you can her, she'll just get fatigued, and then she can't do it, and she breathes so hard. And then, you know, then you tighten the saddle around him and a person on there, and you feel horrible when you do it, when you really realize what's happening here. You see how really uncomfortable she is here, and where she's cinchy. This is classic of that as well.
Okay. I see her eyes. She's like, I don't know about
She's
this.
like, you guys told me this was going to be the best experience of my life. What is this?
Yeah, and right now it's a little uncomfortable for her because this doesn't move. It's shrink wrapped. She's very shrink wrapped in her barrel. So we need to put some air in the bag. okay up here, but boy, when we get here,
Okay.
she just locks it down. But she'll be all right here in a minute when she's being really good about trying.
Okay.
There it goes.
Ooh, that looks better.
I know, baby, let me in. Let me in right here, okay? See how she's just bracy against it?
Okay. She kind of quit
So-
trying for you?
Yeah. She's holding her breath and just bracing against it. But, you know, we give her a second to breathe, and then we go back in, and she's letting me do it now.
Okay.
There's something else we're missing here, so we go back in and try to manipulate this tissue again. And just try to do all the tissue and muscle work first, and then, you know, everything else kind of falls into place when we
Okay.
ask. I know, baby, it's okay. Yeah, I get it.
That's my favorite thing about you is you don't just try to crack, popple, and snap our horses. You actually work on
No.
them.
Personally, I feel like the muscle work is the most important thing, and fascia and tissue. I mean, it's so vital. Nothing's ever going to hold if you don't figure out why. Yeah, see the difference in how this all moves now?
Oh, yeah.
And
And
now
she had a
she
big
really
release.
just finally felt it.
Okay.
There we go. Good girl.
Yeah, Poppy, it's for you.
Yeah, you see, she's not really cinchy and goosey there anymore.
Okay.
There it goes. Good girl. There. All right, now
Oh, you
I
like
think
that?
she'll let me. That's it, baby. I know, I'm sorry. Sometimes we have to get a little bit more oomph into it.
You're gonna feel better after.
There we go.
Okay.
See how much easier it is for her to
yeah.
put this pelvis forward
Okay.
now?
It's not like a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
Oh, that's easy. Oh, nice.
Yeah, you know
Okay,
how
wow, that's so cool.
every time before when I would ask for this tilt,
Uh-huh.
she would get really uncomfortable
Yeah.
and try to get away from me. But now I feel like,
It's almost like flat, too.
yeah, we're getting her to actually contract. And you see what's happening here?
Oh, yeah.
Remember we talked about that nice contraction, but now everything's resetting. Her nerves are firing again. They're gonna reorganize here in a minute, and they'll stop. And then it'll hold her back in this really nice, comfortable spot.
Do you see that, Gracie? That's cool.
It's very cool. This is
You can't see it as much
basically,
through the camera, but in real life, it's
yeah, rebooting the computer here.
Okay.
So we're just
because
getting.
you have some pressure point.
Yeah, I'm
or-
just I'm in, and usually, you know, you don't really know where, but once you start seeing the nerves start to fire, you just hold it there, and you know, eventually it's going to stop, and then I can move forward, and we'll usually get it all the way up to the wither,
Okay.
and then it'll just stop when everything's all happy and comfortable. There's blood flow, everything's working.
So that's her computer resetting.
Exactly. We're
Okay.
refiring the nerves and getting this muscle to, instead of just being elongated and giving up and not really working, she can actually use it now and lift in her core and her pelvic floor.
Okay.
Lift in her back and actually use her back. Because I'm thinking with the way she is, what I'm feeling is she's not really coming into frame nicely. She just has a hollowed out back
Yeah.
with a high head set.
Yeah.
There we go. And you see how everything just quit because it's all happy now.
Okay.
And it won't be tense. You see the difference in there's just no tension.
Okay.
It feels a whole lot better. Good girl. So now I'm going to ask for just this to lift.
Okay.
See how she feels about it.
Okay.
All right, still difficult for her.
Okay.
So now this is a good example of opposing muscle groups. So
Okay.
we fix this up here, but there's still something holding tension, right? And where she can't engage her core and lift.
Okay.
So normally I'll find some adhesions down here in this belly fascia, the abdominal fascia, or something stuck.
So the back and the abdominals are the opposing muscles.
Yeah.
There.
This is her dorsal aspect, the ventral aspect, and you know, one has to work, they work together, but they're opposing, if that makes sense.
Okay.
If there's tension in one, the other was not. The other one's overworked.
Okay.
So we're just trying to figure it all out so she can move and lift, because right now she's not really engaging her core like I want her to. And sometimes it's as simple as going through the rib cage on this side like we did the other side, which I think is next.
Okay.
And we're going to release all of this fascia and make sure nothing's stuck. That left side was definitely worse. Let's see how it is on this side. Already it's better because I can roll. It's okay, baby.
I see.
You're okay. I know, it's not that fun. I get it. I'm sorry. Okay, let's see how she feels about manipulating ribs. Aren't these the best?
Those are the best hoof picks.
And I like the big one too. I'm glad you got the big one.
Yeah. They don't hurt my hands.
Yeah,
And they're strong and they don't bend.
exactly. They last forever. So far.
Yeah, I can't
anyway.
remember where I got that one. I think I have had it forever.
Ranch has some.
Yeah, I've found them at Tractor Supply,
Okay.
Cow Ranch, Belly Vet, because then the UPS guy brings them.
I've been enjoying Valley Vet.
Yes, I love Valley Vet.
And Chewy. Chewy sells like fly spray and all
I
those
know.
things.
They sell a lot of horse stuff.
That's
where I
cool.
got those German muffins, and I forgot that, you know, Chewy delivers them. I have them on auto ship, so I got an extra bag, and I
Okay.
should have canceled it. Ooh.
Oh.
Man. Wow, that was stuck.
Wow.
Okay, good girl.
Wow.
I know, that feels pretty good, doesn't it? I know, wait till you figure that one out.
Thank you.
Really, really stuck.
Okay.
That'll make her pogo-y on the front end too.
Okay.
No shock absorption on that right front.
Just locked up.
It was locked up, her pastern joint was.
It's a cool stretch.
Yeah. She's not great at it, so
Okay.
should be more at a right angle. But,
Okay.
you know, do it gently without pushing or pulling too much.
Okay.
In front of the knee and behind the knee. But, and see how she'll exchange her weight now from each front foot.
Okay.
She's not blocking me again. Okay, can I see? Let me see it move. Let's see. There it goes. Oh, that's beautiful. Beautiful. There
Okay.
it goes. You see how nice that that is on this side? Mm-hmm. And it goes really far down there. Good.
So that's
girl.
good.
That's really good.
Okay.
It needs to articulate that way. We'll see
Okay.
how this side looks. You're so shiny. Can I see? I know.
So on ulcer horses too, you kind of can tell they have a poor body condition.
I think so.
Okay.
They're very drawn. I mean, if they're ulcer active, they're usually drawn up in their loins too, and
Okay.
you know, their whole abdominal area just looks really tense.
Okay. What do you
They're
mean
just
by
not-
active? Can they have
Meaning they're-
ulcers that are not active?
Just uncomfortable, but when they're
Okay.
actually ulcerated, that's a hole, right?
Oh, okay.
But most horses have hindgut problems, not necessarily in their stomach.
Okay.
The ulcer problems and where the bacteria gets really out of balance, especially horses that are grain fed, because it kind of ferments back there.
Okay.
And it changes the whole flora of the hindgut. So you have to keep that correctly pH balanced.
Okay. So maybe that's something we won't run into as much because they get pasture time and.
I think so.
Okay.
You know, and then, you know, just horses are designed to just kind of have food 24/7.
Yeah, I'm big on free feeding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, if they go longer than 4 hours,
Okay.
they produce acid constantly. That's just part of their makeup. They're genetically designed that way because they're free feeders. But, you know, if you only feed twice a day, you know, and it's a real hard balance because, you know, you can get them really fat if
Yeah.
you free feed, but if they can regulate themselves, isn't that nice?
Yeah.
But not all horses do, and that's a fine line. So ideally, yeah, breaking up their meals if you can is really great for them.
Dropped your head a lot too.
She sure did. Now we can get this. Woo! That feels good, babies.
So it kind of took like the whole body to come back to this. Okay.
See how it all just kind of, it all matters.
Oh, that's
And now we
nice.
can get her more so to lift. You know, she's not great at it,
Yeah.
but she's got, to be honest with you, a weaker core.
Okay.
But this is something you can work on because
Yeah.
she's used to just letting it go. But now you can get her to lift, and I don't like to do it
Okay.
this way, but
Sometimes I struggle to get my horses to do it. Do you have a trick?
well, I like to do it back here, but I need something a little stronger. So let
Okay.
me get, this is part of, you know, those releasing all of those adhesions down here and just getting her able to actually move. And,
Okay.
but I like to do it back here. It's the same thing, and if you watch her belly,